welcome to this episode of our program Arab Affairs. As usual, we will be discussing an important Arab file. Today we'll be speaking about the Arab development, and from this perspective, the headline is the President's receiving, or President Fattah al-Sisi is receiving the Arab Development Action Shield Award for the year 2020. President al-Sisi was handed the award by the Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul-Gheit during Wednesday's meeting, which was attended by Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, the Arab League Assistant Secretary General Hossein Zaki. The Arab Developmental Action Shield is an award that is given annually by the Arab League to the Arab figures and leaders who led the development process in their countries. We'll be speaking about this shield, the developments that occurred in the Arab world, particularly the development process or the developmental process that was led by the President during the past period in his country or in our country. That could be a role model for other Arab countries to follow suit. Before we delve into our discussion, we'll have a top story before we start with the Arab news that took place. And President Sisi inaugurated on Saturday an exhibition entitled Our Heritage, showing traditional arts, products and handicrafts. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassam Radi said the exhibition is organized by the state's Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency. Ambassador Radi noted that the exhibition is held upon President Sisi's directives to provide all means of support for heritage industries and handicrafts sector, to expand the promotion of ancient Egyptian arts and to make their products available at reasonable prices through the exhibition. The spokesman added that more than 600 exhibitions nationwide, along with 45 NGOs, are participating in the 2020 exhibition. The exhibition is held at Egypt Center for International Exhibition, and Sudan was chosen as the guest of honor for this year. Before we start on with our discussion, let's first have a quick look on the Arab news that took place during this week, and then we'll come back for more discussion.
Lebanon's President Michel Aoun said that parliamentary consultations to choose a new prime minister will begin on October 15th. Lebanese government resigned in wake of a devastating blast that killed nearly 200 people and wrecked swath of the capital Beirut. Mustafa Adib was picked to form a cabinet but quit in late September after trying for almost a month to line up a cabinet. Hezbollah said that U.S.-backed talks aimed at delineating Lebanon's disputed maritime border with Israel did not signify reconciliation or normalization with the state. Lebanon and Israel last week said that they had agreed to begin negotiations over the shared frontier in what Washington hailed a historic agreement. Hezbollah's parliamentary bloc said that the talks had absolutely nothing to do with any reconciliation with the Zionist enemy. The United States said on Wednesday it was troubled by a recent rise in attacks in Syria in recent months, a day after a blast in the northwest town of Al-Bab killed at least 11 people. U.S. Department spokesman Morgan Ortagus said in a statement that Washington strongly condemns the terrorist attack near a crowded traffic circle in Al-Bab. She added that other reports indicated more than 20 people were killed. Tunisian authorities will ban all gatherings and reduce working hours for employees in the public sector in order to stop the rapid spread of the coronavirus. The decision was taken amid strong fears that hospitals in the North African country will be unable to cope with the high number of patients because of the shortage of intensive care beds. The total number of coronavirus cases has jumped to more than 20,000 compared to roughly 1,000 cases before the country's borders were opened on June 27th.
Egypt opens up to the world. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi meets with world leaders.
وأعبر لكم عن خالص الشكر والتقدير على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة.
Reaffirming Egypt's vision, delivering our voice abroad.
لتطوير التعاون الثنائي الاقتصادي والعسكري إلى مستويات غير مسبوقة.
Discussing regional and international developments. Solid and strong relations on the path of partnership and development.
Right, welcome back. And to highlight both the issues we spoke about earlier, we have with us over the phone Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister and the Secretary General of the Arab Investors Union. Good afternoon to you, Ambassador Bayoumi.
Good afternoon, glad to hear your voice.
Thank you so much. And today, the President inaugurated an exhibition entitled Our Heritage, showing traditional arts, products and handicrafts. What is so particular in such an exhibition, and how far does this reflect the leadership keenness to support the small, macro, micro entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship?
I always say that there isn't what we call a perfect policy. There is a policy where you can gather the people around you. And one good part of the success of any policy is to convince the people to follow you. And this is what exactly our president is doing. He's following a reasonable economic reform, but the success he made based on many things. Above them, that we are convincing our people that we are doing fine, that we deserve to be much better, that we deserve to look to our history and to make sure that we are one of the oldest countries of the world. I remember when the Prime Minister of Japan was visiting Egypt a couple of years ago, he lectured us and he showed us on the screen a photograph of an industrial Japanese delegation visiting Egypt in 1925, visiting the pyramids, and the mission for this delegation was to exchange views and to benefit from the high development in Egypt of the industry. Now we are trying to bring this history to our new generation to understand that we did it several times. And as the President rightly said, we did it several times. You can do it again and again. And this is not the first time we hear something like that, because in the last few weeks, all the international monetary organizations are telling us that Egypt is doing quietly different from the whole world economy. The whole world economy in China, in the United States, in Europe, will be diminishing in the next year. The growth rate will be minus, except very few countries. Among them is Egypt. Egypt will grow in the coming years positively, and the success year will run much better. Why? Because we take the right decision in the right time. 2016, when we started the economic reform, which was a hard decision. And here we congratulate the leadership who took the decision, but also we congratulate the Egyptian people who bear all the responsibility to make this a story of success. Right. So now the President is trying to remind us that this is Egypt. In the past, Egypt now is doing quite well. This means that we have all the reason to expect that Egypt in the future will be in a very good position, inshallah.
Right. We're speaking about the future, but also we want to highlight an important initiative that the president took 4 years ago when he called on the Central Bank of Egypt to start an initiative of supporting the small, medium, and micro enterprises through allocating 200 billion pounds for such entrepreneurs, or rather enterprises. From your point of view, how far was that motivating for youth, for entrepreneurs, for startups to start their own business? How far does this support youth to start their own projects through their creative and innovative thoughts?
This is what we really need, and we are talking about this sort of policy long time ago, because of course the government is investing, the big businessmen are investing. Now we need the individual to be courageous and to start his own business, small business, and not to be afraid of have the responsibility in order to make his own business. And I recall always the German experience that 80% of the German exports are based on the very small enterprise production. So we have to repeat this. Also, proudly, I recall my city, Damietta, where you don't see in Damietta huge projects. Damietta is more than 60,000 very small industries, making furniture, making dairy products, making shoe industry, making many things in Damietta. This is the model we want to see, and we did it in Damietta. We did it in Asyut, by the way, for the carpet industry. So we are not strange from such an experience, and we can do it. Of course, the finance, we were lacking the finance. Now we have this new initiative for the Central Bank of Egypt. And it's not the only initiative, by the way. I know that we have many and several initiatives. Even within the framework of the Arab League, we have the huge fund of $2 billion, which we received on during the first Arab Summit for Economy and Social Affairs that was in Kuwait. And the late Emir of Kuwait declared this initiative to start a fund, an Arab fund, to support the small and medium and tiny size enterprises. And it's working. Now we have this also, this fund, we can use it. And I'm encouraging our young generation to knock the door and to use it with the Arab League also. Many sources of finance are available, and it takes us some effort in order to understand and to make it very surely with all the confidence that we can make it, because we did it before.
Ambassador Bayoumi, when we speak about industries, in small industries and mega industries, we really want to understand from you what exactly is or are the industries that Egypt is focusing on at this very particular time. And we've been speaking for a long time of trying to attract what we call the gray market into the real market or the formal markets. What do we mean by that, and what kind of industries that we really can attract into such formal economy?
First, the gray economy in Egypt is much more than 40% of our economy. And we want to attract them to put their money in the banking system. And we are applying now many practices in order not to accept cash money from anybody. This will lead us to attract the money to be in accounts in the banks. And as you well know, every £1 you put in a bank, it creates credit of £5. But if you put it at home, this wouldn't create anything. This is for a start, and this will allocate a huge source of finance for those who are seeking building their own small industries and projects. As of what we can think of, in the Arab world we have a sort of deficit in our thinking there. Because most of us in the Arab world, we are investing on the services, such as housing or tourism or banking. It takes 80% of our investments. 9% only goes to industry, 2% to agriculture. We want to change this method, and we want to see people invest in agriculture. We need agriculture. Egypt have a food gap. We are importing a good portion of our needs, although we are exporting to Europe also. In industry, you need many things. We need furniture. We need household effects. We need many things in industry for our local market and to export also.
Yes, indeed. So, from this perspective, we are speaking about a very big developmental program and plan that has been put by the leadership and the government a few years ago. And we're speaking about an integrated developmental program or plan.
Yeah.
How far do you think the government has started to carry out with such a plan? What does such a plan needs, and what exactly are the mechanisms of implementation?
I always encourage our government and our responsible people to knock the door and dig in our archives. We have plenty of ideas, we have plenty of programs. Here, to answer your question, we have a program which I am so proud of it. We started it late 90s, which is industrial modernization program. We have books about it. We started to implement it, but it has stopped somewhere because it needs finance. So, industrial modernization program is the answer. And it is there. We use a huge number of experts coming from Europe and Egyptians, of course. And it is there somewhere in the Ministry of Industry. Let us take this file, have a good look in it, because sometimes we look at the word modernization and we think that we need to buy more machines or more computers. Modernization, it means that you make your worker much able to produce more and more efficiency, and to understand what we are waiting from the market which is waiting for our products, also the market which is supplying us with raw material, how to deal with it. Modernization is not machines. Modernization is in the middle of our heads, and we have to visit such file. And of course, there are plenty of other files which we can use, but our bureaucracy must dig in and to see all these successful projects and revive it again. And I think it's not a complicated issue at all.
Finally, here, let me take, how do you view the Arab League or President Sisi receiving the Arab Development Action Shield Award for the year 2020, which is or was given to him by the Arab League Secretary General for his efforts to develop, or rather to leading the developmental process in Egypt. How do you view efforts that were made in the past years that led to initiating a real developmental
This is a very good
plan.
initiative from the part of the Arab League, and our dear Ahmed Abu Ghait, of course, is a very active Secretary General. And of course, he is trying to push to the front the good news that Egypt is doing fine, that we have to congratulate ourselves and our leaders that Egypt is doing fine economically. And in order to give this same experience to other Arab countries who are already trying to exchange experience with Egypt, I'm so glad and proud that Egypt is always keen to give its experience to our brother Arab countries. So it is really, I appreciate this initiative from the Arab League, and I hope this will be a sort of the first step, and we have to repeat this with all the Arab countries competing in this sense of economic development.
Right. I guess we thank you so much, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister and the Secretary General of the Arab Investors Union. Thank you so much for your input here. And before we continue on with our discussion, let's have this report and we'll come back for more discussion.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received on Wednesday the Arab Development Action Shield Award for the year 2020. President el-Sisi was handed the award by the Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abu Ghait during Wednesday's meeting, which was attended by Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri and Arab League Assistant Secretary General Hossein Zaki. The Arab Development Action Shield is an award that is given annually by the Arab League to Arab figures that led the development process in their countries. Abu Ghait hailed the comprehensive development approach led by Sisi in Egypt, which formed a model to be emulated throughout the rest of the Arab world. According to presidential spokesperson Bassem Radi, President Sisi expressed his gratitude to the Arab League for this great honor. Sisi said, according to the statement, that this shield is dedicated to all Egyptians who have contributed with their awareness and patriotism to the success of the economic reform and the process of comprehensive development that is being carried out with Egyptian efforts and resources. The President also affirmed Egypt's support for the efforts of the Arab League to enhance cooperation between Arab countries and its concentrated efforts to support the development process in the Arab world in a way that meets the aspirations of their peoples and strengthens the spirit of joint solidarity. Meanwhile, Hossein Zaki, Assistant Secretary General and Supervisor of the Arab League Council, said that President Sisi has pioneering development experience in the Arab world, as Egypt has witnessed great development in all fields since he assumed the presidency in June 2014. A total of 14,762 projects have been completed since President Sisi took office until June 30th, 2020. Also, a total of 4,164 projects are being implemented. The Arab Development Action Shield is awarded every year by the League of Arab States.
Right, welcome back, and back to our discussion. And I have with me over the phone Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, political analyst. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're speaking here about the Arab Development Action Shield that the President received from the Arab League. And we're speaking here about a shield that is given for a leader who led the developmental process in his country. Let me take here your reading to such a shield, and let me start with discussing the developmental process Egypt started and its tools and mechanisms?
First of all, this shield is a pure and simple recognition of effort exerted in a direction. This time it's for the development. And I think that our president deserves and has earned this shield for his, relentless effort in the direction of development. We can start from day one when we started our economic reform leading to development. This is from one side. All the infrastructure projects and mega projects, again, were leading to development. Third, even when we were combating terrorism in Sinai and in other parts, and we started developing Sinai, again, this development helped combat terrorism. So we combated terrorism, achieving development. So from all sides, I repeat, this recognition and the shield was rightfully earned by our president. And mind you, we are still very much on the road to development, and we are continuing our efforts. So we became a role model, not only for Arab countries, but maybe for the whole world, of how to develop and how to achieve development in a record time. So again, I repeat, this recognition came to the right person and in the right time.
When the president received this shield, he dedicated the shield to all Egyptians who contributed, as I quote the president saying, contributed with their awareness and patriotism to the success of the economic reforms and the process of comprehensive development. How far do you view those statements, and what really contributed to the success of the reform program that was initiated several years ago by Egypt?
Well, we all, I'm talking as Egyptians, we all participated, we all did our part. It's a big orchestra, and the maestro is the one that is conducting the whole thing. So it was well studied and well implemented by the hands and minds of Egyptians. We might have used foreign knowledge, foreign know-how, and foreign expertise, but it was undertaken by Egyptians, and we all, one way or the other, participated in the development of our country. So it is, of course, the recognition goes to our president as a symbol of the Egyptian people, but undoubtedly all Egyptians participated in developing the country. And as I said, the whole thing was well planned, well governed, and well supervised, and well implemented, if I may say. And as we look at ourselves today and look at the achievements that have been done in a record time over the last 6 years, we are very proud, and it gives us a sort of incentive to continue in the future.
If we speak about the stages that Egypt has passed by up till this minute with carrying out with its comprehensive developmental plans, how far do you see the stages and where these economic reforms, despite their harshness, were inevitable?
I have to mention, that we have achieved all this in the midst of challenges coming from all sides. There's no need to mention them, but we all know the kind of challenges that we faced and we are still facing. And yet, we have been so successful in achieving this development. And mind you, this recognition, this award, will only serve as a new incentive for the Egyptian people to continue, and not only to continue, but maybe to make more effort towards the development. We are talking now sustainable development. We are talking Egypt. We no longer talk Egypt 2030. We are talking rather Egypt 2050. So a vision, a long-sighted vision that looks at Egypt in 10, 15, 20, 30 years, which means that we are not satisfied of what we have achieved today, but we want to achieve more and more, and we want to, by some years to come, to be compared to the most advanced and the most industrialized and developed countries in the whole world.
Finally, here the President inaugurated today an exhibition entitled Our Heritage, and those were showing, or this exhibition was showing, the traditional arts products and handicrafts, and also was organized in order to promote the state's support for micro, small and medium enterprises, and they were carried out with the Small, Micro and Medium Enterprises Development Agency.
Yes.
How far are we giving, or how far is Egypt giving attention to small, micro and medium enterprises? Of course, definitely we are speaking about a huge gap of what we're speaking, medium to small to macro. But how far is the government giving the attention to such enterprises and such projects?
The President declared this repeatedly, that he is counting on the private sector to lead the development, and he was expecting of the private sector to represent about 70 or 70% of the total development that should occur. And there is no better than medium and small and micro enterprises to show the efforts of the private sector. As you said, the President this morning inaugurated the Heritage Expo, and this is not the first time actually. We had in the past years similar expositions, but this time it was more than 600 companies and individuals that were exhibiting their products. Egypt is full of handicrafts, and each and every corner of Egypt has its own heritage of handicrafts. And the government, the President, is helping. We have seen initiative after initiative coming from the central bank through the commercial bank, directed to give loans and microloans and grants to small entrepreneurs to help them work and to help them show their skills and their talents. Not only that, but we are now in the process of enhancing technical training and technical education, sort of to broaden the base of craftsmen, so that we can increase our production in the different handy crafts that Egyptians are very famous for. And one thing to tell you that, as I said, it involves everywhere in Egypt. It involves Sinai, it involves the Western Desert and the oases. It involves as well Upper Egypt, so it reaches all the corners of Egypt.
Yes,
and
very
this
much
is
indeed.
perfect. Yes.
Unfortunately, I have to end it here. Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, political analyst, thank you so much for being with us. And yes, this last point was very important to shed light on, particularly that those handicrafts and traditional arts are existing, particularly in those areas. We thank you so much for being with us. I guess that takes us to the end of this episode. Until next Saturday and another Arab file, goodbye.